What's up, Raider Nation? This is your boy, Raider Rob, Raider Nation founder, creator, member of the Black Hole, charter member, going back to 1996. And just came out here to the facility to give a personal message to all the Raider Nation in regards to this drama and scandal involving the NFL versus the Raiders. This has been a 45-year trope and fundamental position of disagreement and alliances with the NFL that have not been all the time on the up and up and engaged in fair play. That being said, Coach John Gruden was fired, as we all know, and it was done under the auspices of, he resigned. That's a, very common thing in media and in sports with teams and leagues and businesses too, to have someone that you still hold in esteem and in a way to try to keep their name from not being too tarnished. You have them gracefully resign, knowing the circumstances that they're facing, and they respectfully resign, as opposed to being outright fired. That gives it more of a dramatic conclusion, and also puts more of an emphasis on questioning the person, character, and their work ethic and all that even more when you're fired, as opposed to you resigning under the weight of the scandal. The National Football League has engaged in very unfair practices, as Mr. AlDavis used to say all the time, and this is another example of it. The question has to be posed, and the question will remain, particularly over a 40-year period of time, why periodically there seems to be an all-out assault on the Raiders, that there seems to always be some type of subversion or attempt to undercut the progress and the mobility and the success and the standing of the Las Vegas Raiders, the Raiders organization, going back to Oakland and through Los Angeles. We got a situation here where the NFL, as country clubbish as it is, tries to bring to the public these emails that were caught up in the crossfire of an investigation into the Washington Redskins, now known as the Washington Football Team's interpersonal scandals and workplace indiscretions and what have you under the ownership of Daniel Snyder. We've seen the NFL before protect owners, in the case of a Robert Kraft, in the case of the Spanos family over the years, in the case of, Jerry Jones in many ways. There's always been favoritism. One team that has never got favoritism, and one team that has never had the benefit of the NFL executing its will to protect that team, is the Oakland, Los Angeles, Las Vegas Raiders organization. And I, being a 45-plus year fan, being a well-respected, opinionated, outspoken, and a defender of the Raider Nation, very noted in the media and nationally and internationally for my stances against the National Football League, I declare again today that the National Football League attempted to sabotage, and has so far successfully sabotaged, the new efforts of the Raiders organization in Las Vegas to implant themselves in this city, to become a viable, marketable franchise again, to be a winning franchise, more important. We started the season off 3-0. We've hit the skids the last two games and stand at 3-2 as we go into Denver this weekend. And whenever you folks will see this, that was when this is being taped. Very suspicious, as usual, when it comes to the NFL and the Raiders. Very suspect, very, timely, but untimely for us that this drops now, and that Gruden's emails are the only emails that seem to be the ones that have the most focus right now in this scandal that is allegedly involving over 700,000 emails dating back to the mid-2000s and into the 2010s. When it comes to Gruden specifically, he was not working for the Raiders, he was working for ESPN. More specifically, this information, I'm sure, or the character of John Gruden has been well known by insiders in the National Football League, by owners, by people that have worked with Gruden. Keyshawn Johnson, most notably a player, of course being black, when he called out Gruden as a fraud, when he called out Gruden about some of his character flaws and issues, he was shot down, of course. I'm no big Keyshawn Johnson fan, but he's redeemed today and validated. But the thing about it, when it comes to the Raiders, is the timing and the specificity or specificness of them targeting us at 3-2 in a new city and taking this time to, retaliate against Chucky for the things that he said in these emails, which are on him. He's a grown man. He's a multi-millionaire. He knows how to speak. He's been a public speaker for over 25 years in the public eye. He knows how to conduct himself, or should, when it comes to separating your personal beliefs and opinions about things that are that deep-rooted, okay, and somewhat subversive devices and racist language to how to speak publicly, and as we now know for years, put up this mask of being a certain type of character when he wasn't. But my thing is with the NFL attacking the Raiders and coming after us again and sabotaging, again, the Raider organization. The NFL needs to look in its own fucking mirror. The NFL has not yet, in 50 years, over 2 changeovers, introduced a black commissioner. There is not black ownership, and there's been no consideration or encouragement of black ownership. There was an attempt in the mid-90s by a group headed by Walter Payton, but that was shot down immediately, of course. And I would hope personally that in my prediction, the city of Oakland will possibly have an opportunity for a franchise in the coming years, and I would hope that maybe there would be a consideration for a black ownership group there in Oakland, California. But the NFL has its own issues of racism. This is retaliatory by Roger Goodell because he was called all kind of so-and-sos and such, faggots and, bitches and all this shit. And, Roger Goodell is not an honest person. Roger Goodell, is a weasel, period. Roger Goodell is a disingenuous motherfucker, man, okay? And he doesn't have the best interests of the players. Damn sure have the best interests of DeMaurice Smith, where this all started with, as if they were going to give a fuck about the brother and his feelings being hurt. But of course, where we're living in society now, where we are in society right now, there's an extra attention paid to the sensitivities of other groups that are marginalized or claim marginalization in the structure. And that's fine. But for us to be made an example after all of the steadfast civil rights and a diverse progression that King AlDavis, and I'm an AlDavis man, introduced to the National Football League, which the National Football League hated. Okay, they would have loved to have been the ones to dictate when a black coach would have been in the NFL when it came to race relations. They would have loved to have been the ones to be the first to introduce a Latino head coach, and a number of other things that AlDavis initiated and influenced that he doesn't get credit for nearly enough, and that the NFL, going back to Pete Rozelle, have had a disdain for us and had a disdain for AlDavis, his legacy, and the legacy that was, passed down to people like me. So, the NFL has a problem with its racism that also needs to be addressed. This is not a case of whataboutism. It's a case of, that shit about the NFL needs to be addressed, okay? And hasn't been, in years. And so, with that being said, the Raiders are in a situation where they now have to get a new head coach. They now have to get themselves, a new direction, a new leader. We're getting few and far between of having anybody, that understands the culture that AlDavis implanted in his team and what our image and identity has represented for over 60 years. That will stand up with his team and fight. Mark Davis isn't standing up. Mark Davis's bitch ass is saying, go talk to the motherfucking NFL about what's going on. And I don't know if he's trying to be sarcastic or what have you, okay? But he needs to stand up and defend his father's team. He needs to stand up and defend the legacy of the Raiders. He needs to stand up and defend you and I, the Raider Nation. And that's what I aim to do on my platform, Raider Fan Radio, is defend us, okay? We are not to be used as scapegoats, nor as some pillar and suggestion of, an NFL manipulated social change, okay, that they benefit off of. And yet on the field, we still get erroneous penalties thrown against us. We still get the bad end and the back end of the NFL's consideration. And, this is straight bullshit to embarrass us and to, try to humiliate, the Shield when we have just come to a new city, when we are laying down roots in a new city and so far successfully are being accepted here. To put this blemish on us and try to tarnish what AlDavis created in the diversity and create, and the Raider organization has changed. We all got a glimpse of the draft room during the 2020 draft. It's vanilla across the street, no doubt about it. Mark Davis has a different agenda when it comes to culture. He has a different perspective when it comes to the inclusion of all kind of races and minorities into his organization, unlike his father, But that being said, it's his team. He can do what he wants with it. But what I would want him to do is to stand up and defend this team, to stand up and make sure the NFL knows that we are on to you, that we know your continuous long history of trying to sabotage and undercut the efforts of the Oakland Raiders, Los Angeles Raiders, and Las Vegas Raiders to be a fair partner in the National Football League alongside all the other 31 teams. Okay? There's been a clear bias and prejudice against the Raiders. It's documented. It is on fucking tape. It is on film. It is in the media. It's in print. Okay? And it's out the mouth of babes. Okay? The children, the first generation of the Raiders that have been subjected to the National Football League's terrorizing of us, and their continuous attacks against the Raiders to keep us from being a successful organization and a winning organization. So anyway, this is Raider Rob, Raider Nation, Raider Fan Radio, Black Hope for life. And there's a change coming over there. And I hope it's not a hostile takeover to take and strip the Raiders from its core foundation and make it some cotton candy, powder puff bullshit that the NFL, has more of a say-so and a hand in operating than us having true ownership in there that understands and really embraces what the identity of the Raiders are and what it should be going forward and what it has always been and what is a mantle for us that we should still stand on because it is still effective, it will still work, and we are the ones that made it and we are the only ones that can break it. And that should be the attitude for Mark Davis across the street. Don't let nobody take your shit from you, partner. All right, you stand up for your property. You stand up for what you inherited, okay, and what you now own. And don't let these other bastards punk you out your shit, okay? This is Raider Rob. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you down the line on Raider Fan Radio. The season's not over. Fight, stand with this team, and never give up on the Shield, okay? Because more important than this team, more important than the administrators, and more important than the owners are not bigger than the Raider Nation. We are worldwide, nationwide. No apologies, no excuses.